Oh.
All right, good morning. It's 9 o'clock. I think we'll go ahead and call this to order this morning. Is there anybody has anything for the agenda like to change or request? All right, hearing nothing.
I don't.
Hearing nothing, I take a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Everybody had a chance to review the minutes from, let's see,
We need to take the, you got a motion in a second.
oh, I'm sorry. A motion and a second. All for the vote. All those in favor of the agenda?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Now the minutes, and that would be last Friday.
I'll move to approve the minutes of the May 8th meeting.
I'll second. That's right.
Okay, we have a motion on the approval of May 8th. Any discussion on it? Okay, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Carries. Zach, got a utility permit for us.
Yep, the 2040 permit today, just west of Carroll, providing electricity for, looks like a new farm storage building across Jade Avenue. Don't see any issues with it.
You know, forward that, I assume.
Yes, I believe so.
Issue.
I'll make a motion to approve the utility permit.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the approval of the utility permit. All those in favor say aye.
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 And opposed? Motion carries.
That's really all I had today for you, unless you have anything else for me.
Thanks. All right.
Thanks, Zach.
Thank you, Zach.
Thanks for coming in, Zach.
What time?
Thanks, Zach.
Okay, next up is the payables. And that was before to 2 weeks. When did that end? The 11th? Which is today. Okay. Yeah.
Courtney, was there anything that you think we should pay special attention to in the payables?
I don't know if special attention, but I had to order a lot more envelopes because we're mailing more ballots than we anticipated. So I'm kind of short in my election budget. So I did take my envelopes out of that line that we set up for COVID. I guess it was for PPE, but this is kind of related to that. My hope is when we get closer to the end of the budget year, if I have money left, I'll put it back in and pay it back. But we have to order more envelopes today because we only have 400 left. So that's something we can get reimbursed for through election, but I didn't know where else to take it, and I obviously have to have them.
Okay, so you said you get reimbursed through elections.
There's some talk of getting reimbursement for election costs related to this.
Well, I do like that you're tracking it through the COVID thing, because even if they would kick it out, at least we have a track record of it coming in and out. That if we get a chance, we would cover that cost. cost there, or at least part of it anyway.
Yeah, so that's really the only thing. I just didn't know where else to take it out of it.
Yep.
I had to order them. So other than that, it was
Yeah,
kind of a
I
small.
questioned that. I questioned that Friday when I seen where that was taken out of. I talked to Joan or Joanne, and she told me what the reason behind it, and that made sense to me then.
So Courtney, how many thermometers can you get for $437.98?
I didn't look at the invoice, and I didn't order them, so I don't know. I'd have to go up and look at the invoice
That's
to
one
see how many.
Carrie bought.
Through Boundtree, I don't know.
Dean, I believe that they were varying costs. I think the one we bought for the courthouse was in the $20 range. And I think that's the same we spent over at the Fricky building was in the $20 range. But I think they bought a better one. I remember Sarah telling me about it, but I can't recall.
No, it's not a big deal. I'm just curious. It's not. I mean,
Yeah, they're
sounds
all.
to me like you could get about 10 of them for that. But
I know. One of them I think was fairly expensive, but it's just a quick scan head gun, where the other ones are the little cheaper ones.
sure.
But things have really changed very quickly. Okay.
I don't have any problems. I don't have any problems with the payables. If nobody else has any concerns, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, Dean made a motion to approve. Got a second?
Neil Block will second.
Okay, we have approval, first and a second. I'll call for the vote on the approval of the payables. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, motion carries. All right, the plats for today. I believe there's two of them. Is that correct?
Birdine. No, it's just one Birdine.
I just have one at section 10 in Glidden Township,
Okay.
on Verdine.
Okay,
Yeah, the person that is buying this property from Ron Burdine gave me a call, and mostly she was concerned about how soon we were going to approve this, because they want to start building their house June 1st. So sounds like everything is all good. I don't have any problems with it, and I'd make a motion to approve. She'll be glad we're approving that today. I told her to either be today or next week, so I'm glad to see it on the agenda.
okay. I'll second that motion for the approval of that plat. Any more discussion on it? Any more questions on it? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for the vote to approve the plat for today. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed. Okay, motion carried.
Got an update on the thermometers. There was two of them. They're the temporal ones, that you scan across your forehead, and they're being used in the jails, I understand.
Okay. The jail and then this floor, both.
Yeah.
Okay,
There's two of them.
all right.
That's how many thermometers you can buy. For
Two, Dean.
Two.
So your answer is
Gotcha.
two. You could have
Those are
bought
probably.
4 or 5 of
They're
them
really nice.
6 months ago.
Yeah.
Goes with the territory, yes. Okay, the next thing up is the support resolution for support for the North Raccoon watershed.
Yeah, so I had several conversations last week with individuals tied to this. I have to stop and think now. On Tuesday, I called Clarence Sipker to get more information. And Clarence said he was having a conference call with John Norwood from the Soil and Water Commission in Polk County, Don Etler, and I did not know who Don Etler was. I thought he might have been a supervisor from Palo Alto County, but it comes that he actually is an engineer for Bolt and Mink out of Spencer, and that Palo Alto County had hired him to be their representative on this. So that's why he impressed me with his knowledge of what was going on. So this is what he does. So they were going to have a meeting on Thursday morning, and then I was going to call, or Clarence was going to call me on Friday to find out what they had come up with. And Clarence did call me, and actually Don Etler got on the call as well. This was Friday afternoon, the same time as our meeting on Friday. And some of the things that they covered in the meeting with Etler, Norwood, and Sipker went pretty well. And so I think there's going to be some changes to the plan. I think they will probably try to reduce the nutrient reduction to 41% from 48%. Some of the things, the discouraging thing about this is I think it's if it passes, it's not really going to have a lot of value at this time. The Buena Vista people have got their things in line, but as far as Pocahontas, the dollars that were going to go there are now going back to FEMA or HUD, and they're going to Dubuque County. So by not using them, the dollars will be returned, which is unfortunate for the watershed. As it comes out, the plan wanted, there's, and I don't, maybe Neil knows more about this than I do, but there's, the pothole region up there in Pocahontas County is pretty significant. And there may be a pothole in a field, in an 80-acre field, and it may take up 3-4 acres. They work that ground right through. They can't hardly plant in it. Nothing will grow in that pothole. But they wanted to start to idle those potholes. So he said there's hundreds of them up there, and the potholes vary from size from 2 acres to 10 acres. And so there were just different things like that, plus the increase of the Swan Lake up there in Pocahontas County that was going to gobble up some of the farm ground. Did not set well with a lot of the farmers in the area. So, but I think they did make some improvements on the plan. The plan is going to be opened up for public debate from June 1st to June 30th. And then in July, towards the end of July, then we will vote on the plan. So it's unclear at this time whether the plan will even pass. So with what we have today, it's just basically, and to be quite honest with you, I think that and the thing about the resolution today that we have is the inclusion of the Raccoon River in North Raccoon Watershed Management Coalition. So they have what they call the Alliance down north. They have the Raccoon River Alliance. And so there are two different things, but they try to make them one, tie it in with this Watershed Management Authority. And what this resolution does is separates the two. And I think there are now 6 counties have sign this, we will be number 7 if we choose to do so. And I guess at this point in time, recommend that we do that. So if there's any questions, some of the things I know that right now, Clarence did make the comment that they have a severe viral problem with the water coming out of the Des Moines River. There's some real issues with the water quality of the Des Moines River. So they're pulling, the Des Moines Waterworks plant is pulling all their water now out of the Raccoon River. So, which puts a little bit more emphasis on what happens in the Raccoon River. So with that, I'll let it up for questions, and I would make a motion otherwise to approve the resolution. So,
Dean, you stated we'd be number 7 and 6 counties assigned. How many counties are in this watershed?
I think there's 9. I think the only ones that are probably going to not sign it would probably be Dallas and Des Moines.
Or Polk, you mean?
Or yeah, Polk County, correct.
Okay.
So it's unfortunate. You know, it makes me a little bit cautious, actually, going forward with the Middle and South Raccoon. You know, because I can see the pressure or the influence that would come if we pursued to get a plan for the Middle and South Raccoon, which is unfortunate. Hopefully, if we can get this thing cleared up and we can get a division between the Raccoon River and the North Raccoon River, maybe we can do the same between the Raccoon River and the Middle and South Raccoon. So. Any more comments? Otherwise, I'll just make that motion to approve the resolution. Resolution number 2020-007 in support of the division of the North Raccoon River Watershed Management Coalition.
Any other discussion on this?
I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on resolution 2020-007. Any more discussion? All right, I will call for the vote, and I believe it's roll call.
Ruggles,
Yes.
Hausman,
Yes.
Miners,
Yes.
Shetler,
Yes.
Bach. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Yeah, I did too.
Sharing germs. There are some things, yeah.
All right, the next thing up is to authorize the issuance of a,
Just a second, Rich. Courtney, you want us to send a signature on that again?
If you could, please, and if you stop by the office, remind me and we'll get your signature if you're here.
All right.
And Courtney, would you send an acknowledgement then to Pocahontas County?
Sure.
Just reply that it passed.
Okay.
We may not have all the signatures right away, but at least it passed today.
Okay.
Thank you.
okay, the next thing up is to authorize the issuance of DHS Dupaco credit card. Can you?
All right. Yeah, I can
enlighten
give you a
us?
little background. So DHS used to have a Walmart credit card, and they always had issues with it. And then I don't know if they tried to get some changes and they weren't able to do that. So I recommended to them that they use Dupaco because that's we, like our sheriff, emergency management, ambulance, they all have accounts there with the credit card and had really good luck with them. It's easy to make changes if you need to. If it's local, you can contact them if you have problems. So that's what they wanted to do. They're going to get rid of the Walmart card they have and just have a DePaco Visa or MasterCard, whatever it might be. I talked to the guy from DePaco, and his recommendation was to just get a board approval authorizing them to be. Since it's not going to be a state DHS card, it's a county. I mean, it's for the county portion of what they're doing. So the county is the account holder. But that's what his recommendation was.
They authorize all the expenditures.
Well, you
DHS
guys,
does.
yeah, but you guys approve them when we go to pay them. Does that make sense? So
Yes.
yeah, they can go out to Walmart and buy supplies, but when we actually go to pay the credit card, you guys are approving that.
So there is a second set of,
There is. And like I said, they already had a card.
Yeah.
It's just, this is going to be with a
this is a
different
little
vendor.
more convenient to
I
use.
believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody got a good understanding of that?
My only question is there a reason why we're using a DePaco and not a regular local bank?
They are a regular local bank.
They're a credit union. But the thing is, I mean, don't like Iowa Savings or Carroll County have a credit card also?
Yeah, my office has an account through Avila Bank. I only
So-
recommend Paco because I know that some of our other departments had really good luck with using them. So that was my only recommendation to them.
So it's basically just on experience. That's the reason we're recommending that.
I believe
Is that
so.
right?
Just hearing
Okay.
the departments comment on the ease of use and I don't know. It was just a recommendation I made based on other departments.
That answers my question.
And as far as interest rates go, those don't apply because we pay them off every time. We don't carry balances on those cards. So to me, the most important thing is just having good customer service and being able to address issues if you have them.
I guess I would voice the same concern as Gene. I mean, how many credit cards does the county have? I mean, do we have, more credit cards out there? You say you got one from Avila. Has that been a problem using it?
No, I don't, but I don't use it very often either.
Yeah.
No, I haven't had any issues with it.
Okay.
Any more questions? Okay, if not, I assume that we need a motion and a second to allow that to happen. So
I'll make a motion to authorize the issuance of a DHS DePaco credit card.
I think Neil's tried a second there, but he was on mute.
I'm waiting on a second.
I'll second that.
Neil?
Thanks, Gene. I see I was muted.
Well, I could see your lips moving.
Okay. We have a motion and a second for the authorization for DHS to get a DePaco credit card. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries. Okay, interfund transfers.
Okay.
Courtney will take the wheel
I
on that one.
will. This would be the second transfers we're doing. It's to the secondary roads fund. It's their share of the property taxes we collected. The first one I have here is rural services. We'll be moving $1,061,586 from the rural service basic fund to the secondary road fund.
I'll make a motion to approve that resolution, authorizing those from rural basic service to the secondary road fund in the amount of $1,061,586.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion, second. Any more discussion on that? If not, call for the vote. And it's a roll call.
Ruggles,
Yes.
Houseman,
Yes.
Miners,
Yes.
Shetler,
Yes.
Yes.
motion carries. All right, the second one here, same deal. This one is from the general fund to the secondary road fund. $122,623. And this is the portion that goes to roads from property tax.
Yeah, well, I'll move to approve the resolution for interfund transfer of $122,623 from general basic to the secondary road fund.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, any more discussion on that part? Hearing none, we'll call for the vote, and it is a roll call.
Ruggles,
Yes.
Houseman,
Yes.
Miners,
Yes.
Shetler,
Yes.
Yes.
motion carries.
See if she can come on earlier.
There's a radio today, we had it last week.
You know, like I had it the week prior, so either you or Neil probably.
I don't remember whether I follow you or. Okay, anybody want to start with their committee report for the last few days?
Oh, I can. Just basically, I've had the regular board meetings that we've had. And the only thing out of that different, the board meeting was also the emergency coalition on Friday. But also on Tuesday was the CADC. We had a meeting with Debbie Durham by video. And I thought there was a lot of good things brought up out of that. It was kind of a different conversation. She was one of the first things she kind of said that she would never been in favor of people working at home, but since this has happened and they've been doing so much at home and the amount of volume of work that they put out the last few weeks, that she's very open from this point on, that if people need to work from home, that she'd be willing to hire people that work from home. And it kind of pointed out the fact that I think when we come out of this thing, our lives are not going to be back to the normal that we used to recognize. And I think a lot of things are going to be done differently. But she talked a lot about their different programs that they've got and what they're doing. She said that thinks that also we're going to have more remote workforce. Our telemedicine they noticed a big uptick on that. And that's one of the things that they think that's going to come out of this. She thinks that also that with this recovery, that the state of Iowa is going to be at center stage for the nation. And this, due to University of Iowa has the pharmacy school and manufacturing down there. They have a portion of the manufacturer. And they think that state of Iowa will be involved in that as far as the new vaccines and stuff like that coming out of there for any viruses in the future. We talked a little bit about ag, the workforce, a lot of different things. I thought it was a very good meeting. And that's basically all I have right now. This next week, I've got just our regular meetings. And then on Friday, I think we tentatively have a Yes Center board meeting up at Cherokee also. And then this last week I did the radio and
I had no meetings other than a regular meeting. Who has a radio today?
It's either you or me. Do you follow Gene or do I follow him?
If that's a open question, I'll say you follow him.
Well, I was gonna say the same thing. You follow him. What, can you do it today? I've got another meeting right away, so.
I can do it today.
All
I'll
right,
do it today.
I'll do it next week.
Other than our regular meetings that we had on Wednesday and Friday, I have no committee reports. And this week, obviously, I have the radio and newspaper.
Gene? Oop, you're muted.
I am muted.
There you go.
Yeah, I had the just the Wednesday meeting, and then the conversations I had with Clarence Zipker and Don Etley. We got that pretty much behind us. Another comment about I think that, you know, although the East and West Nishnabotna, you know, is probably still going to go on, I think we're still going to see some activity there in the future. But I don't think we're going to see that in the North Raccoon. I don't think there's enough leadership there to keep that really going. Anyway, so I had those. I had that last week. This week I've got Conservation Board meeting tonight and Board of Health meeting on Thursday, and then our regular meetings that we have. That's it.
I'll go. Last week, the same as everybody else, regular meetings. I did meet with, or spoke with Zach. We're gonna work together. I think tomorrow afternoon, we have to go take a look at a couple different projects. Then we have I have Carroll area daycare again today at noon. I did speak with Mike Pogge Weaver in reference to the city and the county working together as we move forward and kind of open up and get some different ideas and maybe tweak our policy and procedures a little bit. When we have our next COVID-19 meeting, I think on Wednesday, I'm going to bring up a couple different ideas that I really like that the city is considering to implement. Other than that, emergency coalition. And that should be it for this week.
All right. I had about the same meetings everybody else had last week. But I did have an Iowa workforce last Thursday evening. And that was just the cleanup on the closing of the Carroll, some of the Carroll office and moving some of it to the Denison area. There's been with everything that's going on, there's been a 6-month extension. It'll be through December here. The offices will remain here for another 6 months. They do have a site in the Denison area. It's on Highway 39 North. And they will be getting that info out. They've got some things to get out of there. There was something else in there before. So they've got a little work to do on the building, but that will be the moving forward. The vocational type people will be staying in Carroll. They will be looking for some office space, and we'll try to do a site visit sometime, probably May or June. I'm guessing probably June, to let some of the COVID things kind of ease up a little bit so the state can travel a little bit better. I think they'll come over and we maybe do some sites here to, it's 2 people in a part-time spot. So, and I will try to run them through the Fricky building just to make sure that, see if that will fit their needs. I don't know exactly what they're looking for yet. So we'll kind of go from that point. Now, on the other side of the Iowa workforce, the merger between the three areas, regions, however you want to term them, the 28E has been adjusted a few times. John has had it under review. He seems to be okay with it. So we're moving forward with that. We did get a temporary chair and 2 vice Cleos. They're on board and they are getting some of the legwork done with the department now, that from Iowa Workforce. So that's an always ongoing thing. And I do have a meeting tonight at 5 o'clock via Zoom to try to iron out a couple more things. Also, tomorrow morning, I have a waste agency. I have a Region 12 meeting scheduled for Thursday. Do you guys not have anything going on Thursday? Neil, did you have any Region 12 meetings scheduled? I thought it looked like the whole crew. Maybe it's just the policy, the executive side. Anyway, I have a Region 12 on Thursday, and Friday, if I don't hear any changes, I will be leaving the county and I will be going to Polk County. I have a dentist appointment on a root canal that was started before this, and I need to finish up on it. So I'm going to give them a call and make sure that we're still on. I haven't heard any different. So I will not be at any type of coalition type meeting on Friday. So Gene, you'll have to take over if we decide to have one. We'll let you know as soon as we can, one way or another. I have no idea what's going to happen to us this week. We thought maybe she'd make announcements during her press conference, but then she released stuff last Thursday and kind of caught a lot of people kind of off guard a little bit, I think. So those meetings can change around real quick. So just be prepared for that, Gene.
Are we gonna plan on meeting at Wednesday at 1 then?
As far as I know, we're going to look at Wednesday. I don't know if there's a lot of changes. There's really not much out there right now.
So we talked about addressing the employee vacation
That's,
on the
yes.
13th, so we should probably at least do that.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to visit the employee vacation, all that on the 13th also. So give it some thought. Stephanie said that the city is going to change theirs maybe a little bit. So there might be she thought it was a good idea. So I'll let her explain that to you Wednesday, and we can kind of move forward from there. Anything for anything from Courtney? Do you have anything on the agenda for next week, Freddie?
I do not.
And I did jump in with Jean on the CADC, and there was a lot of good information there, I thought. She's pretty upbeat about the possibilities, so, and that was good to see.
Courtney, what's our status on voting right now as far as absentees and numbers and stuff?
Last time I looked, we were close to 1,300, I believe, but I believe there was more that came in on Friday. That's probably not part of that total.
So have we had anybody come up to the window yet?
No.
So the 1,300 is requests,
Those are ballots that have been requested and mailed out.
right?
I sent Sharon a text, told her we were gonna be done a little earlier if she wanted.
Okay.
Yeah, she did.
She said she had a radio interview and she thought she could get on about
Okay.
9:45.
Okay, so we have, Shannon's gonna be, trying to be with us, at 10. She's on, I guess she's got a radio going on right now, so. You guys wanna hold tight till 10 o'clock and we can get Shannon on? Or maybe just a little bit before? So we'll take a little suspension here for, let's say 10 minutes or so. Okay, what's that?
I don't think it really matters if you take it off.
You can leave them
Probably
up.
just leave it going.
Leave it up. They can block themselves if they like to.
Yeah.
Are you guys able to hear me?
I'm back up.
I can't hear now, but
Shannon?
Yes, good morning.
Well, hang on just a second. We're bringing the rest of the crew back in.
Got it.
Unless you don't want to talk to them, then all you gotta do is say the word. We have the power to wipe them out.
No, I love getting a chance to talk with you guys.
you guys are back online. Everybody but Dean's back.
Dean, are you back yet?
We did say 10 minutes.
I did say 10 minutes, so we'll give him a little bit longer here.
Is your Monday as heavy as last week?
No, not quite as bad. We got one behind you yet, but that's at 10:30, so. That's
Oh, so I get a lot of time.
I'm glad we're getting you up and on a little early because we'd like to go right at 10:30 on that one or close to it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, my week looks as bad, if not worse. The good news is that the mileage is not adding up very much on my vehicle.
That is true. I actually this weekend noticed the same thing. I usually have quite a bit of road time, and that certainly isn't the case right now.
Yeah, gas money, I'm not spending as much there, so.
I think it's a little harder to stay home now that it's really nice out. It's been a little more difficult to stay at home all weekend, but
That it
No
is.
problem with that.
So how's the homeschooling going?
I don't think I'll probably win any awards with that effort. It's okay. You know, we're doing our best, and I think good for the teachers and their hard work. They are doing a great job of trying to adapt and do the best for the kids that they can. But yeah, I know moms like myself probably aren't the best candidates to be long-term homeschoolers.
Yeah, my son and his wife both teach, and they've got 2 workstations set up in the house trying to get as many kids in and getting as much done as they can. They kind of been split shifting it a little bit, and my son's been in charge of his 3 kids in the afternoon when my daughter-in-law's on. And so he says, we have PE class in the afternoons. He says, my children are starting to hate me. He says, we're digging ditches, we're painting.
You know, there's some pretty phenomenal content out, whether it be, you know, Netflix, Disney Plus, like National Geographic and the History Channel have had some really good pieces. So I have cheated a bit and let the kids watch some of that, you know, whether it be animals, American history, some of the, you know, the national monuments and things that they, you know, we haven't visited and maybe won't ever. That's been kind of fun to do some of that with them.
Yeah,
Isn't some of the zoos doing some live showing of animals as well?
Yes, exactly. The Omaha Zoo, I think every afternoon they've got some videos, so that's been really fun as well.
All right, Dean. All right, we're ready to go. Shannon, I'll just turn it over to you.
Great, and I'll kind of go through my list here that I made last week, and then we can definitely answer any questions. You know, as you guys have all seen on the chamber side, we're just really trying to do a good job of helping to distribute public health information and encourage people to shop local. And, you know, now that things are opening up at kind of a slow pace, you know, we're really trying to push content to say, even though the governor says X, you know, the business owners have in a lot of places kind of their own methods, and just encouraging people to be very respectful of what the businesses have put out as the way they want to operate. So, you know, our team is certainly adapting. Our summer months are a little more chamber heavy typically with events, but, you know, there's a lot of reasons, not just the health guidelines, et cetera, that we're really kind of taking a look and evaluating the rest of our year and what we put forward. But we want to make sure, too, that our efforts, our resources as a team here really are best invested in supporting the local businesses now, as we can be providing a resource, and then certainly kind of coming out and trying to bring things back to full speed. On the CEDC side, though, which is kind of what our focus was planned for today, there's a lot going on. You know, from day one, as soon as we could, we pulled Kimberly Tiefenthaler into our office with the SBDC, and she has done a phenomenal job of working individually with everyone that calls and providing information on the PPP process, the EIDL process, unemployment benefits, what IEDA is doing with their business recovery grants. And so, you know, one of the things that they started pretty early on and is still very important right now are that they're doing 2 webinars each week, typically Tuesdays and Fridays at 8:30 a.m., but they've also plugged some other ones in. And it's been everything from listening to legislators' teams talk to bringing in the Restaurant Association to talk about how to bring restaurants back online. They are going to have, they're partnering with Square, who does the card swipes through your phone, to really work with retailers about going online if you're not already and looking at some resources. So they also have had Debbie Durham in to talk. So they've done a phenomenal job of trying to bring content to our small businesses to help them out through these times. And you know, as things are flying, you're seeing all kinds of different grants and programs and things coming in fast and furious. You know, she's doing a great job in helping us to really sift through all the different information and get out there what's pertinent to our local businesses. IEDA, if you guys have been watching, with their business recovery grants, you know, the first couple days there was round 1 and round 2, and I think they sat at round 4 for a while, with all the funding they could pull together at the state level. But we have had clarification out of the federal government to say that some of the allocation to the state of Iowa in the CARES program could be used for continuation of that program. So I checked this morning, and we're up to round 18. And, you know, that I think that's a testament to how hard IEDA is trying to listen and be a good partner for now, knowing that we're also working on shaping programming for recovery once businesses are open again. I haven't done the math on the last 3 that have come in, but last I tallied, we had over $570,000 had come into Carroll County, and I know there have been several more. So as that continues to get funded, you know, hopefully we'll see more of those dollars come in. But another thing, Debbie had talked with us last week. We were able to have her on for a call, which was awesome. And she really talked also about the task force going forward and what that might look like. You know, she's not going to put anything out there ahead of what the governor says, but they're doing a whole lot of talking and researching and determining how best to try to support business going forward. So her expectation is that there will be a team, a task force chosen, and it'll be a public-private partnership. Debbie has always been strong on, you know, the private sector needing to partner with the public sector to make things happen. And so we expect that'll be kind of the basis for those recovery task force members. And also, you know, very diverse in terms of what sector, size of business, geography, et cetera. you know, as I mentioned, we just continue looking for grants, and there are just so many rocks to turn over. One piece that we found on the IEDA site was that there was a CDBG opportunity put out there. I think it was right around $4 million. But, you know, what it did is help to support different entities with purchase of equipment and adaptation to staff. And so I know the Manning Daycare Center received some funding. The city of Carroll received some funding. So, you know, every time we find those opportunities, we're trying to just get them out to our communities and look for ways that it could be supportive. At the Professional Developers of Iowa level, I am on the executive committee for that group. We have a legislative call each week trying to kind of keep abreast of what's going on in Des Moines. And as of this morning, the expectation is that maybe today or tomorrow we'll see from the governor some discussion on that proclamation that's set to end this week and how she's going to move forward with that, as well as session. Our lobbyists, the expectation is they'll gavel in, gavel out Friday, do some work with committees and other things virtually and the best that they can in a modified environment, and then really look to that time after the June 2nd primary to kind of dig back in and try to reestablish and get to work, you know, knowing that the budget is going to be quite an effort to get everything figured out for the state. And at that time, you know, too, that's when we will be stepping in as economic developers to really be providing information about what we're hearing out here when we're talking to our business owners and what kind of recovery efforts are best going to help some of those. Unfortunately, even with all the local, state, and federal monies that we've seen, there are still businesses that I hate to say fell through the cracks, but unfortunately that's really kind of what happened. You know, based on structure or size or what have you, there have been some that just haven't been eligible for much in the way of assistance right now. So we're trying to really stay in close communication with those individuals, look for more customized solutions. You know, we've encouraged over and over to really partner with lenders and work with your lender. You know, if you have payments coming, don't just avoid it. Make sure you're proactive in having those conversations, because the reality is our lenders don't want to have a bunch of buildings or houses or cars or what have you. You know, they want to find solutions to really do the best they can for our community. And you guys have probably heard it, but I'll applaud again the efforts of our local lenders. You know, with those PPP applications, it seemed like the rules were coming on the fly. They were changing midway. And I think that, you know, those community banks have been a huge asset when you look at some of the data coming out with regard to distribution of those PPP and EIDL funds. I think that it really is a testament to the hard work of lenders in the counties in Iowa that have done that. We're doing a whole lot in terms of trying to reschedule programming. A lot of what we do, you know, it is meetings, as Rich and I were talking before we got started here. You know, a lot of what we do is we go out and learn, we network, we tour the ISU lab. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see that Manufacturing 4.0 facility yet, but we're trying to do the best we can to really position Carroll County, because unfortunately, while we're really digging in right now with retention efforts and doing our best that way, as you've heard from our state director at IEDA, there will be opportunity on the flip side of this. You know, things are going to look a little bit different, but we've learned about that global economy and what we can depend on from outside of the United States and what we need to take care of here at home. So, you know, we're trying to do our best, too, to position Carroll County to be ready for that. A lot of what the discussion is centered around is our incentive programs. You know, as people really kind of take a look at how employees function, and they've seen the efficiencies that can be put in place with people being at home, you know, looking at some of those modified environments and making sure that how we approach recruitment is vital for what's going to be happening. A lot of our programming, too, and initiatives we have underway are on hold. We had been working with Carroll High and also with Iowa Economic Development Authority on some workforce components. It was really building out on the backside a comprehensive job posting system, as well as working with IEDA on some people recruitment, quality of place types of recruitment, and really starting to sell Carroll County on the opportunities. You know, within this county, we have such diverse personality with each of our communities, and they all have their unique assets. And so working on really letting people know what our stories are out here was something we were excited about, along with some research that we had paid for or were paying for through IEDA's partnership, and all of those programs are put on hold to 2021. So we're still trying to kind of adapt on the fly and do the best we can in that time frame. The other thing we've tried to really do is bring the information directly to our teams here. There's plenty of content and information in the media, and that's awesome, but we also want to create the opportunity for our local teams to be asking questions of some of those leaders. So we started with Senator Ernst. She was available on a call for our CADC partners, and Debbie Durham was on last week. Tomorrow at noon, Mike Meisen will be on. He's with Iowa Area Development Group, and he is really focused on ag, commodities, producers. And so while he works often on retention, recruitment, business startup, he's very well connected with, from biofuels to right now what's going on with livestock and crop production. So we're excited to have him on the call. And then next week, Senator Grassley has confirmed that he will meet with our team as well. So all of you should be getting those emails if you'd like to sit in on those. Make sure you're checking your junk and clutter. Unfortunately, I think that's where some of those have been going. But if you save us as a safe sender, they'll come to your inbox. But lots of opportunity to be hearing what's going on at the state and federal level and get some questions answered. So that's a lot of what we're doing right now. A lot of it is just individualized conversations and on a pretty regular basis because things just keep changing on us. But, we feel like our best is that we can put forward right now is to just be a partner. And if there are questions we don't have answers to go find them. And to be working pretty closely with our partners such as Kimberly and IEDA and Iowa State Cirrus too. They've done a great job, especially with manufacturing, of putting out opportunities and discussions. So that's really how we're focused. We're trying to adapt and work in kind of a different environment ourselves to make sure and keep our team safe and healthy, but to be making sure we're doing business with our board and our partners the best we can. So with that, that really kind of goes down the notes I have here, but definitely if you have questions, let me know.
Shannon, and I did join the call the other day with Debbie Durham, I really appreciate her enthusiasm. She's a very upbeat person. I did jot down a couple of things as I was listening to her. Do you think there's going to be, and this is the crystal ball question,
Right.
as we move forward and see that some of these brick and mortar buildings have had some success with the work at home venue that we're in, do you see that as maybe a trend that could be coming? And that, of course, where I'm headed with this is that's going to really put pressure on our housing market of trying to keep more people in the area. And I just see them both tied together.
Right.
And I will tell you that we are going to dabble into the rural housing a little bit too for the low income. We decided to do that a meeting ago, and because some of the communities have trouble with finding 5, where that's the parameters, it's easier for the county to find 5 rather than for a city to find 5.
Yeah, exactly.
So can you give me a little bit of thought on that prior to as that was kind of one of my takeaways from the call.
She has made that comment besides just in that call. And certainly it's by sector. When you look at the concentration of some of the back office types of operations in Des Moines, I think you've seen some of the larger names have seen how they can adapt and how quickly they can adapt. So it is anticipation, and not just from Debbie, it's in the conversations with some of our site selectors too, that there will be a shift in assets. Certainly physical space, but you're exactly right. It will become more reliant on having, again, back to that broadband conversation, making sure that there is strong broadband build out so that some of those rural communities don't get left behind. I think that based on Senator Ernst's conversation with regard to the infrastructure bill, they're working to bring broadband into that conversation. And we've seen some great investments in Carroll County. I think we're positioned in definitely more of an advantageous position than in some other rural counties. But I think, to answer you the best I can, that conversation is happening. You're right. There's no answer we can put out there right now, but it is something that we need to be very well aware of and be watching, because, as some of those larger names in that industry start to make decisions like that, when they're the leaders, there's going to be followers and there's going to be other adaptations. And so, I guess, like I said, unfortunately, I can't just give you a good yes or no, but know that there's a lot of that conversation going on right now.
No, and if I had a crystal ball, we'd all be a lot better off. But that was just some of my takeaways from it. And yeah, I know that I did have a couple people contact me. One person contacted me many times about the loans. They were just trapped in those windows. They just didn't fit any place. And hopefully they'll kind of solve some of that off. And I told him the same thing. I said, don't forget your lender if you have debt.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to call him. They don't want your building. They don't want your building either.
Right. And we do know that, as Debbie pointed out on our call, what the federal government is referring to as Main Street is probably a little bit different than how we would define Main Street, but we know there's more coming. We know that there's some EDA pieces in USDA that haven't been sorted out yet, but there is conversation about small business in Main Street at the federal government level, which it's hard telling how quickly that'll be deployed. But we know, actually, I believe it was last week, they thought that there'd be a little bit more discussion. So, if not this week, I would say pretty soon, we're going to see what that looks like, and hopefully that'll pick up some more of those individuals. Another program that Debbie talked a little bit about, and we're all realizing too, some of our weaknesses in programming. And one of the programs she touched on was the targeted small business grants that were opened up. And just for your familiarity, targeted small businesses are very small. They're the individuals that are women, minorities, veteran-owned. And we do have kind of a subset of funding and programming that you do have to become certified. If you're just a woman business owner, you're not qualified until you are certified with the Iowa Economic Development Authority. But we did realize that even there are some misses. And so I think that Debbie's very well aware of some of those gaps, and that's going to be something that is addressed when we see the longer-term recovery package come out of the state of Iowa. Are there any other questions? I guess I should note that, she did let us know too that while everything seems to be very much COVID-centric right now, as it should be regarding health and economy, there are some things that they are still moving forward with at the state level. Those workforce housing tax credits, as Rich mentioned, housing being a priority. There is a rural allocation, and so those were opened up. And there's a lot of things, the historic preservation tax credits and some of those programs that we've become used to are still there. Some may be modified slightly, but we also need to make sure that we're still continuing forward with some of those other projects too, versus just letting our days be all about COVID right now. So I guess I have a lot of confidence in her. I think she's a pretty fierce competitor when it comes to opportunities for Iowa to grow. And I think she does a really good job of making herself available and listening, like she has done with our board and communities. I think that she's very open-minded to ideas. So when we talk about public-private partnership, we've seen communities out here that do a really good job of taking care of themselves, not waiting for programming to answer their questions. And so I think that there will be a recognition of that too, you know, to provide support for those that are working hard to take care of their own.
Yeah, I think one of the things that came out of this also the other day at Debbie's meeting was, I think, you know, this is a bad situation, but I think there's probably some opportunities that could come out of this in the future, particularly with this at working at home, where we may be able to generate, keep some of our youth back here and stay close to their families. And I think there's a lot of opportunities here if we know how to reach out and grasp them and make them work.
Yeah, I agree.
So I've got a couple of questions for you, Shannon. I did not have the opportunity. I couldn't listen in on Debbie Durham's, but I heard some comments about large corporations that are in the cities in the East Coast that are really looking to move out. And so actually some of them have actually vacated the highly populated metropolitan areas and moving their companies out and trying to move their workforce with them, simply because of the fact of the vulnerability of that workforce. And so have you heard anything about that? Is that kind of what she was talking about, or?
She really didn't go to that level. A lot of what was discussed really was around kind of the reshoring conversations and access to some of the equipment that's been needed and the pharmaceuticals that have been needed and our dependency on overseas companies for some of that. So, you know, she alluded to the manufacturing as well, you know, as I mentioned with some of the equipment. But I think that there are a lot of things, as I'm sure with you guys, you know, we have 3 to 6 to 10 Zoom meetings a day we can be in with vendors, but we've tried to do a really good job of keeping in touch with our site selectors that we're used to see what they're hearing, what those companies are saying, and kind of what those criteria points are to make sure that we're competitive. We have heard Alliant Energy and Mid-American Energy as our partners in this neighborhood. You know, they're working on how their programming can help us to be more shovel ready and make sure that when the opportunities are there that we're ready. I can't say I've had specific examples of company relocations in the last couple months while we've been going through this, but certainly opportunities with regard to manufacturing, as you can imagine, when it relates to PPE. So we have seen, I guess the best way to describe it is we've seen more of an expedited process and more of a direct touch point with our local developers than always working through that traditional state and regional approach that we had seen in the past. So, you know, as to your point, I guess a lot of the things we've worked on while we're here and have a little bit different looking day planned every day is focusing on making sure that our data is current. We're making sure we have a good feel for how educated our workforce is. We are working on, you know, not just what our unemployment rate had been or the age of our workforce, but our workforce engagement and participation rates for Carroll County and education attainment are pretty important points. So, you know, it's not that we had to go dust off those files, but we just want to make sure that at every chance we get to talk about our competitive advantage that we're doing it.
So my next question is, and this, I don't know if Senator Ernst alluded to this or Debbie alluded to this about the PPP benefits actually probably running out June 15th to the end of June. Has she said, has anyone commented on that as far as what the next step is going to be? Is there anything?
Yeah,
I know that there's a payroll, what do they call it? A payroll guarantee program act that might be coming. Do you know anything about any of that?
We've heard a whole lot of discussion, and when we were on with Senator Ernst, she did talk a little bit about some of the issues that have been brought up. And you're exactly right, that 8-week time frame and extensions, if this thing runs on, then what? You know, with regard to shutdowns and closures. And, you know, we did talk about different regional approaches, knowing that each region is kind of impacted differently through the country. But, she also, another issue is even within that 8-week cycle, when you consider payroll issue dates, there are gaps and overlaps and things like that. So the way it sounded to me, those are all things that they're aware of and they're working on in committee. I cannot say at this point that we've seen any kind of clarifications. Kimberly and I kind of forward stuff back and forth as we're hearing it too, and there hasn't been any definitive discussion. We are getting a lot of rumbling about that phase 4, but also hearing that 4 or 4.5 is a lot slower moving. Fortunately over the weekend, and I can't say I've seen anything solid other than just some media notes that, Trump really is looking at, or the administration is looking at some support and buyback for livestock. And so we'll see what that looks like. I know that we've had opportunities to provide some input to our legislators around some of the ag pieces as well as business, but to your point though, I'm not trying to not answer your question. I have not seen any definitive decision, the timeline of those programs.
Okay.
All right. Neil, do you have anything you'd like to ask? You're muted.
The important thing to remember from your perspective, Shan, is the opportunities that we possess, and by not having a concentrated population, and whether people are working from the home or in a factory situation, I think they're much better off in a rural setting than in a urban setting.
I absolutely agree. And we've heard a number of speakers have talked about the fact that, in economic development, typically we have prioritized prime industry and those things that really do grow our economy. And not that they're not important, but we've begun talking about quality of place as it relates to workforce. But I think it's going to be a different world for us. It is going to be quality of place. It's going to be retail, and it's going to be restaurant, and those types of things that hadn't always been number one on the list, certainly in the larger areas. And so it's definitely a new world that we're living in. But again, I think that's just all the more reason that we have to look forward to good things coming, because we have a pretty great place to sell here. And I do want to just I had a note here I didn't get to, but a big thank you to Courtney for taking time and sitting down with us to talk about the voting process. Hopefully that'll be helpful. But as there's more content for you guys to get out, we're happy to keep doing that. Making sure that we're providing info for our residents is pretty important to us right now too.
All right, very good, Shannon. I appreciate your candor this morning. I think.
Yeah, I'll try to connect with you guys a little more frequently here. Like I said, we know we should have some more things coming forward in the coming weeks, and I'll do my best to keep it a little shorter though.
You're fine. You're doing just fine. Okay. If you don't have anything else, I think we'll move on, and thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks, Shannon. Yeah, bye-bye.
Shannon.
Thanks, Shannon.
Okay, we got just a couple of minutes before the closed session. Is everybody on for the closed session? No, can you see any? Oh, are they going to be required to get out and get back in?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay, now we had the upcoming thing is a closed session. Now you remember you have to get out and get back into the closed session.
I'll resend the link to everybody right now.
And Dalton is going to resend that link to you right now. So all you have to do is click on it and get into it. So is there anything else you'd like to discuss before we get any closer to that time frame while we're in open session?
Well, do we have to make a motion in this here video to go into closed session?
Yes, we'll have to make that motion here, and then we'll have to come back out to make a statement. So
Which we can stay in the same session for that.
you could just open people back up for that. Okay. All right. Okay, so how do you want to proceed? Do you want to go in this closed session now and just wait for the extra 7 or 8 minutes, or you want to wait just a little bit and then do it? You choose.
Oh, we have to wait for,
Let's get the closed session now. So we can-
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we go into closed session.
That give you guys time to get logged in to make sure that you're in and we don't have any other issues. That gives us a little window to work with.
I'll second that motion, and that should be referred to as Iowa Code Section 21.5I.
Correct. Okay, we have a motion and a second for closed session for Iowa Code of 21.5, paragraph I. Call for the vote. Is that
Roll call.
a roll call vote, please?
Ruggles,
Yes.
Houseman,
Yes.
Miners,
Yes.
Shetler,
Yes.
Bach.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, very good.